Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about a common question that beginners often have when working with Docker, which is what is the difference between a Docker run and Docker create? These two commands might seem similar, but they are distinct purpose, and understanding differences between them will help you use Docker more effectively. So let's dive in. The first thing, let's talk about what is Docker run. Um, this command is probably the most commonly used Docker command. When you use Docker run, it does three things. The first thing is pull the image from Docker Hub if it's not already available locally, creates a container based on that image, starts that it starts the container so it begins running it immediately. For example, if you have like something like a Docker run like Nginx in Nginx, Docker will pull the Nginx image, create a container, and start it right away, so you can access the running web server. Let's talk about what is Docker create. So unlike Docker run, the Docker create command only creates container from an image, but does not start it automatically. It simply prepares the container, and you need to start it manually using something like a Docker start, like Docker start. For example, you can have like a Docker create Nginx, and after that Docker start, and after that you put the ID, which will be the Nginx, for example. So Docker will pull the next Nginx image if not already available, and create a container, but won't start it running it. You will see a container ID returned, and you can start it the container later. Like um, when you find the ID, you can just Docker start and you put the container ID. Okay, so let's talk about the key differences. So now we're understanding what each command does. Let's summarize the key differences. The first thing, let's talk about between Docker run and Docker create. Docker run creates and starts a container. Docker create only creates the container but doesn't start it. Let's talk about the use cases, because in my opinion it's really important to talk about them. In the use cases here, the first thing I will want to talk about the Docker run. Docker run is great for when you need to immediately start your container. It's ideal for testing, development, or quickly spinning up services. Docker create is useful if you need to prepare a container in advance or want more control over when it starts. For example, in some deployment pipelines, you may want to create containers and start them at specific stages. Also, we need to talk about the container lifecycle. So let's start with the Docker run first. With Docker run, the container starts running as soon as it's created, which means if the command exits, the container also stops. With Docker create, you have more flexibility. You can create the container, inspect or modify it, and start it when you are ready. Okay, we can make an example for that, or like show some code, but let me add a code area here. Let's work on this code block. Okay, so first let me just talk about the Docker create. So if we start with Docker create, and after that we put the name of the nginx container, for example. So this creates a new container called my nginx container. Sorry. It's create a container called my nginx container. Notice that it provide us a container ID, but nothing else happens because the container is not running it. And after that, if you want to run it, we will type docker start, and after that we put the my nginx container here. And yeah, this is how it work. And the run is simpler. The docker run, we'll just let's try use the same thing, and we put run and nginx container, like just give it 2 here, and yeah, that's it. Docker will create and install the container in one stop, and we'll see the output indicating. So let's talk about when to use which command. So use docker run when you want to create and start a container right away. This is what you will use 90% of the time for most development work. Use a docker create when you need more control over when a container starts. This is useful for staging environments, deployment scripts, or situations where you want to set up a container and then start it in a specific time. So to sum it up, Docker Run is a convenient one linear to create and starting containers, while Docker Create gives you more control by creating the container without starting it. Knowing the difference can help you use Docker more effectively in different scenarios. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like it, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss any content. And yeah, see you in future videos.